Welcome back to another episode of International Cold Murders. Today we're revisiting one of the most famous and controversial cases in modern American legal history, the trial of O.J. Simpson. A man once a celebrated football star, an actor and a symbol of success, O.J. Simpson became the center of a media firestorm and a trial that divided the nation. The question that still lingers today is, did O.J. Simpson get away with murder, or was he an innocent man caught up in a web of racial injustice? Let's take a deeper look into the case, that story. It all started in 1994 when O.J. Simpson was accused of the brutal double murder of his ex-wife, Nicole Brown Simpson, and her friend Ronald Goldman. The victims were found outside Nicole's home in Los Angeles on June 12, 1994, with horrific injuries. They were stabbed multiple times. Blood evidence, a trail leading from the crime scene to Simpson's car, and DNA found on the victims seemed to point directly to Simpson. The prosecution initially seemed to have a strong case. But as the trial started, it quickly became clear that this was no ordinary murder trial. It was about far more than just the killings. It became a battle over race, celebrity, and the flaws within the justice system. The prosecution's case was built around what seemed to be strong evidence. They presented blood samples from Simpson's car that matched the victims, as well as bloody footprints leading away from the scene, which matched Simpson's size and shoes. The presence of Simpson's blood at the crime scene seemed like a clear link to the murders. And then there were the infamous gloves, the prosecution's key evidence. In a moment that would become a defining image of the trial, Simpson was asked to try on a pair of leather gloves found at the crime scene. The gloves, which had been soaked in the blood of both victims, appeared to be a perfect fit. However, when Simpson tried them on in court, he struggled and they seemed too small. His defense attorney, Johnny Cochran, seized the moment with the now legendary phrase, "If it doesn't fit, you must acquit." This moment became a turning point in the trial and would live in the annals of legal history. The prosecution's case started to struggle, and the defense team capitalized on every opportunity. They painted a picture of O.J. Simpson as a man who had been wrongfully accused, a man caught in a system that was biased against him because of his race. The defense also introduced the possibility of police corruption. Detective Mark Fuhrman, one of the key figures in the investigation, was caught on tape making racist remarks, which ultimately led to the defense arguing that a racist police force was framing Simpson. The argument about racial injustice resonated deeply, especially within the African American community, which had long felt that the justice system had failed them. Many viewed Simpson's case as more than just about the murders. It became a symbol of the ongoing struggle for racial equality and fairness in the courts. The trial was a media spectacle that captured the attention of the nation. It lasted for 16 months, with Simpson under house arrest for much of that time. The media coverage was non-stop. Cameras were allowed in the courtroom, and the public watched the entire drama live. People across the country became emotionally invested in the case, taking sides and debating over Simpson's guilt or innocence. For many, this wasn't just a legal case, it was a cultural event. Simpson's defense team, dubbed the Dream Team, included some of the most famous lawyers in America, like Robert Kardashian, Robert Shapiro, and F. Lee Bailey. Their strategy was simple: to discredit the prosecution's evidence, to attack the credibility of the police, and to present Simpson as the victim of a biased system. As the trial progressed, it became clear that the defense had taken control of the narrative, and when the jury retired to deliberate, it only took them 4 hours to reach a verdict. On October 3, 1995, the jury returned their verdict. not guilty of double murder. O.J. Simpson had been acquitted. The courtroom erupted in reaction. Simpson was visibly relieved, and his supporters in the African American community saw this as a victory. For them, this case symbolized more than just one man's fate. It was a statement against the racism and corruption they felt plagued the American justice system. However, the verdict was not universally embraced. The families of Nicole Brown Simpson and Ronald Goldman were devastated. They felt that Simpson had not only gotten away with murder, but that his fame and wealth had played a significant role in his acquittal. They were convinced that the jury had been swayed by Simpson's celebrity status and his defense team's racial arguments. Many also questioned whether the legal system had truly delivered justice, especially given the severity of the crime. After the trial, Simpson's life was in difficult. His reputation was shattered. His career as an actor and athlete never truly recovered, and the public's perception of him was divided. Simpson later admitted that his life had been difficult, not because of the trial, but because of what followed it. His attempts to rebuild his career were unsuccessful, and he found himself in hate with his children and ex-wife's family. Then in 1996, a civil lawsuit was filed against Simpson by the families of the victims. Unlike the criminal trial, the standard in civil court is a preponderance of the evidence, meaning it only requires more evidence in favor of the plaintiff than the defendant. The civil jury found Simpson responsible for the deaths of Nicole and Ronald, awarding the families $33.5 million in damages. However, Simpson never paid the majority of this money. Many felt that the civil lawsuit was the last chance for justice, but for the victims' families it was bittersweet. The damage had been done, and Simpson's actions, both during and after the trial, continued to haunt him. But the story didn't end there. In 2007, Simpson found himself in legal trouble again, this time in Las Vegas. He was charged with armed robbery and kidnapping after he and a group of men stormed a hotel room and attempted to steal sports memorabilia that Simpson claimed was rightfully his. The memorabilia, including trophies and personal items, had been taken from him after he had been forced to sell many of his assets due to the civil suit. This time there was no high-profile defense team, no dream team to back him up. Simpson was convicted on multiple charges, including armed robbery, and sentenced to 33 years in prison. The irony for many, Simpson, the man who had escaped murder charges, was now facing a lengthy prison sentence for a relatively minor crime involving memorabilia. They argued that his robbery conviction was the result of a biased system seeking to punish him after the sensational murder trial. The debate over his guilt continued to fester, especially among those who believed he had been the victim of a conspiracy. But in 2017, after serving almost 9 years, Simpson became eligible for parole. At the age of 70, he was granted parole and released from prison. His freedom marked the end of a lengthy and controversial chapter in his life, though the public's opinion of him remained sharply divided. Simpson moved to a gated community in Las Vegas, where he quietly resumed his love of golf. Despite his release, Simpson's past continued to haunt him. The murders of Nicole Brown Simpson and Ronald Goldman were never solved in the eyes of many. The case remained open, and new investigators took another look at the evidence. Some even suggested that other individuals, such as convicted serial killer Glenn Edward Rogers, might have been responsible for the murders. Rogers, who is serving time on death row, had confessed to multiple murders, including one that resembled the details of the killings of Nicole and Ronald. but there's still no proof to connect him to the crime. As of 2024, the question of whether O.J. Simpson was guilty or innocent remains unanswered for many. The scars of the case have never fully healed for those involved, and the debate continues. Was Simpson the victim of a biased system, or did he manipulate his fame and fortune to escape justice? Simpson's death in April 2024 after battling cancer closed the book on his controversial life. But the case remains one of the most polarizing in modern legal history. So what do you think? Was O.J. Simpson truly innocent, or did he simply manage to use his resources to avoid accountability? Is he a hero in the eyes of those who saw him as a victim of systemic injustice, or is he a murderer who escaped the consequences of his actions? The mystery remains, and it may never be fully solved. But for now, the story of O.J. Simpson continues to captivate and divide people around the world. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Join us next time for another deep dive into a true crime case that changed the world.
Thank you for watching.